This is it really is spanning from like the last episode, right?
Living an illusion.
What has being a father taught you? For me, being a father has taught me about being the part than looking like the part. Just speaking from my own experience. A lot of time throughout, my child's upbringing, I was spending more time on like looking the role versus actually engaging and being the role. You know what I mean? And I caught on like a little bit late. Young, having a kid, and I had my kid when I was. She was born. I didn't have her. Her mother had her. But I became a father at a very very early age, 18 years old, and it's a journey. It was a journey. I did the best. I'll say this. I did. Like most parents, we do the best we can with the knowledge we have, right? And I think what was troubling for me is accepting like that I could have done more if I knew more. You know what I mean? And I'm sure I'm not the only parent that has felt that way. But it's just like how your ego allows you to get so caught up in your ego allows you to get so caught up in yourself that you feel like almost like you hot shit or you've been doing this thing in a productive way. But you know what I mean? Like actions in the present show a lot in the future. You know what I mean? And it was just that I saw myself a certain way, right? And the reason for it was trying to cover up things from my own past, like before becoming a father. Like feeling like I was, like a fuck up and shit like that, right? So I was hell bent on trying to be this character, right? Imposter syndrome. And I was trying to just, for one, making sure that whatever my child needed, especially financially providing, I wanted to make sure that she had that. Emotionally, I wanted to make sure that she had that. But coming from a family that don't really deal with their fucking emotions, it's that shit gets passed on from generation to generation, right? So trying to do something that hasn't been done can come off very overwhelming and uneasy, uncomfortable, all these things, you know what I mean? And trying to do something that hasn't been done before is it's different, and different isn't always accepted. And it's pushed away when you try to talk, especially being a man, a black man for that matter, trying to talk, deal with emotions and try to talk about these tough issues, man. But sometimes it's just how it be. But I say all that to say that I wanted to give, like I said, everything I felt like I needed when I was my kid's age or when I was young. I tried to be that. I tried to be the parent that actually wanted to listen to what you had to say. So I thought. But you can get caught up again in this idea of who you believe you are and trying to be perfect. Perfectionist kills you every time. Perfectionist is nothing, can be taken as an insecurity, trying to cover up something, which it was for me. And I just could not forgive myself for a lot of things. So I figured that becoming an adult, becoming a father, that I could kind of, make up for these things that happened. And a lot of the stuff that, I blame myself for, I had nothing to do. It wasn't my fault. You know what I'm saying? It was people that were supposed to look after, look after you. It was their situations, things that they've done that kind of, ushered you in that way. You know what I mean? But when you try to take on, like leadership kind of early, and you can misconstrue what something was meant to be for you. And like I said, I don't blame it. I don't want to blame anymore. I won't blame anybody. I mean, we did the best. We all did the best we could with the knowledge that we had. And you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody ain't thinking about us. That's the funny part, right? Some of us really do believe that somebody is like so focused on us. You know what I mean? And but most of the time people are thinking about themselves. And I mean, most of the time people are really thinking about themselves. So it's like getting out of your own way, getting out of your ego's way, so that you can do what's best, face your fears and all that stuff, and learning it later in life. But being a father showed me a lot about myself, lengths that I was willing to go, and lengths that I felt I was too afraid to go. And I think that every parent goes through that. And I got to see what my parents experienced with me. And, you just never know until you go through it. So I'm grateful, for all the lessons that came with it, all the lessons I'm still learning, because I'm still learning how to be a father, more engaging, that is, versus putting more focus on the providing aspect and trying to engage and just be there, and to listen, not for advice unless it's asked for, but really to listen to my kid and know how, she feels on things. I do my best to try not to make it about me. And I know how that can be when your parent tends to make shit about themselves. You know what I mean? And they don't know any better. Again, that's what neglect does. You know what I mean? It gets passed on. So when one generation of kids gets neglected, the next generation, they try to, everybody wants to be heard and loved. You know what I mean? They want to be seen. And you want to be more understanding. And that's what I try to do. I try to be more understanding, more so. But the one person I really need to be more understanding of is myself, and that taking it easy. A lot of times the ego can, wants to be so much more. But knowing from the soul that you're just doing the best that you can, I mean, okay, how can you argue with that, right? And again, a lot of people are not gonna appreciate you doing things at your best because they have an expectation of you. You're going to disappoint a lot of people, with their expectation of you, and that is okay. You're still loved, right? You don't have to do things to be loved. You're loved just as you are. You're not incomplete, you're not broken. Sometimes you just need that reminder, right? For yourself, not forget it from anybody else, not to get that validation from anybody else, but to be like, you know what, man, you're doing all right, Rome. You're doing the best you can, man. Yeah, you made mistakes, but again, mistakes are not life sentences. They're life lessons. You were meant to learn from it. You were meant to move forward and do better and try to break the cycle if you can, man. It ain't pretty. And that's the thing. As a kid, I just knew that life had to be better than what this shit is. You know what I'm saying? In certain situations. So I was hell bent on being perfect. Just learning how to love unconditionally, right? Because I felt like I had to be loved I had to be a certain way to be loved. And so it brought about characters. I couldn't just be what I want to be, say what I want to say without some form of backlash. You know what I'm saying? How I felt was not received. Like I said, I'll speak for my family. We weren't able to voice how we felt on things. And if we didn't go as, what a parent figure, adult figure said, then there was manipulation done in order for me to do domestication, really. They talk about it in The Mastery of Self by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. How like when you don't do as I say, you shame me into doing what you want me to do. Is domestication. They use domestication to get to get you to do what they want to do. So it's like right or wrong is based off of how another person feels. You know what I mean? It sounds, it's very reminiscent of slavery. Like if you don't do what the slave master says, then, you're wrong, Chicken George. But understanding what a person feels like is a whole nother, ball game. And so with that being said, those same tools that were taught in childhood, as I became an adult, right? They were still there trying to vie for that attention, trying to prove that I was lovable and all these things, right? So imagine trying, again, you felt like you never got this validation, right? From childhood, whatever it is, whatever it was, whether you're friends, whether it's parents, whether it's whatever, you know what I mean? And now you have a kid and you're still young, you know what I'm saying? You're still young. So now you're trying to get your kid's validation. She needs you to lead her. Or him, you know what I mean? She needs you to lead and show her like the way. And when you're so caught up in your ego, when you're so caught up in like shit left over from childhood, thinking that once I get this, then I'll be able to do blase blase. See, kids, when they come into this world, they don't wait. There's a lot of us, but they don't have time to wait for that. You know what I mean? So it's like being a kid, raising a kid. And a lot of times, my daughter taught me a lot about myself growing up. And I'm forever grateful for that. You know what I mean? Because she was able to express herself in a way that really I felt I couldn't growing up. And being, like I said, and being grateful for that, like that generation before, even I will say, my younger brother, being able to express himself in a certain way, it inspired me, as well as cousins, my family members that were able to express themselves. They inspired me to kind of, again, speak up just a little bit more. Hence doing a show that kind of, again, airs out a lot of stuff that you've been holding on to, right? But overall, being a father taught me to put things in a different perspective, right? I felt like I had to put everything before me. Again, trying to, any chance that I had to kind of go home and see my kid, versus going to I don't know, wherever, like traveling and shit like that. I just felt like if I went here, I would look, it just wouldn't be accepting. Again, acceptance, you know what I'm saying? Trying to be accepted by shit. But spending more time as much as you can, especially like being on a military life, being a military parent that lives far away, like states away from your kid, you know what I'm saying? Like any chance you got, fly, you know what I'm saying, home and see that. And for a long time it was convenient. Because my kid was right where my parents lived, so it was like a one-stop shop. But things got more challenging when my kid, had to live elsewhere. Then, that's when fear kicked in. And when fear kicked in, there was a lot more challenge I had to navigate in, and there was a lot of freeze in me, you know what I mean? And it kind of drove I believe it drove a wedge on certain things in my life, in a lot of ways, right? So I had to grow up, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Like military, the military does everything for you, right? First and the 15th, you got to check. It gives you a place to live. It gives you money for food. It gives you everything. You know what I'm saying? You're pretty much you're almost like a child, if you will, like an adult, again, man-child, if you will, like Peter Pan type shit. Like they do everything for you. But when you're hit with reality, that's when the light comes on. And not everybody can handle the light at first. And part of me felt like I couldn't. I really couldn't do it. I had that perfectionist thing. I didn't want to make a mistake. I wanted to make sure that I was doing everything right. You know what I'm saying? Not concerned about again and right for the wrong. It was about being right for the wrong reasons. You know what I'm saying? It was right for ego in a sense, not so much right because this is what the again like the kid needs. Of course, I mean it's it's a dual effect, but mindset and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just like dealing with your childhood trauma and then learning to put more focus where it needs to be because you know what I'm saying kids didn't ask to be here. They didn't ask to be here, and being a parent requires a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? A lot of effort, right? That again, being young, not knowing these things and not being educated on these things, that you don't necessarily put forth just yet. But that's what growth is about, and being able to learn from it, to see it, and be like, damn, you know what I mean? Like you could have done so much more if you knew, that is. But you did the best you could with the knowledge that you have, and that's the thing to accept. But the hard part, especially like going through therapy and all that stuff, is looking back and seeing you feel bad in the sense of like all the things that you could have done more. You know what I'm saying? Could have done more. And again, life lesson, not a life sentence. And but overall, man, I just like I say, I love being my kid's dad. Truly. She's an inspiration for me every day. In so many ways. But yeah, that's a few of the lessons I can honestly say that I've learned being a dad. How does your life compare to how you imagine it growing? I can't even get this shit out straight and without laughing. But how does your life compare to how you imagine it growing up? Okay, so this is it really is spanning from like the last episode, right? Living in illusion. So this is what I thought. At this point, at 36, I believe that I would be married. I believe that I would be having like kids, the house, all that fairy tale bullshit that the Disney movies and TV shows, Lifetime, Hallmark, ABC Family, all of that stuff is all it cracked out to be. And I've learned in the last let's call it 3 years, since my last breakup of like I said, my last relationship that I was at seriously, right? What I've learned is that it's more to it than just saying the right things. It's learning how to have certain tools as a man that you must have, and there's certain aspects of it that comes with suffering. I wasn't ready to suffer. Spoiled, you know what I mean? So when you feel entitled, if you will, you're entitled to some shit, you don't believe you have to go through anything. And suffering is something that comes with like the territory. It's a certain type of suffering. Now, I don't mean sitting there in a toxic ass relationship. That's not what we're talking about here. But as for learning what it is to be a man, a masculine man at that, and things I didn't know before. I'm talking about all my life. I did not know these things, and I'm wondering why every relationship went the way that it went. And because if you give somebody power, they're damn sure going to take it. And if you don't recognize your power, you're going to be powerless. So understanding your power comes with a lot of wake-up calls and acceptance of that. You know what I mean? And everybody has power, both man and woman, when it comes to a relationship. So I just believe that relationships work like it did in middle school. I like you, you like me. Okay, we'll be together, we'll go kiss, eventually doing other grown folk things. You feel me? doing things like that, and then once we get into an argument about something, oh, I guess we breaking up. See how weak that is? You know what I mean? From just a mindset, because it's learning how to deal with conflict, right? And in a healthy way. I don't mean the type where we're yelling at the top of our lungs to each other, because we don't need to talk at each other. We need to talk to each other, right? And yelling to me is nothing but the wounded inner child. That's anger. That's not being heard as a kid. You know what I'm saying? Manifesting into adult life. And I've done it. I know I've done it. I've been in situations with individuals. I'm not for controversy. I'm not with it. I'm not for controversy. I'm not with the confrontation. Because honestly, I don't know how to express my anger in a healthy way. I'm either I don't show it at all, or I'm a loose fucking cannon. So, and then joining the military, they teach us to have military bearing, which basically means don't lose your shit. So imagine having to feel tight-lipped and you want to explode on shit because you've been taught that if you do this goes against what we represent in the military. So, which is crazy because people in the military yell, go figure. But my interpretation of everything is kind of like, that's what happened for me. So being in relationships, again, the first sign of trouble, abandonment feeling comes in. I gotta leave before you leave me, versus us learning how to communicate and learn to love each other, right? And I didn't have these tools, man. I didn't have these tools. I'd operate like a child, very immature, responding to shit. You know what I'm saying? I would use sarcasm as a defense mechanism, and not even throw hands up and sound like a fucking a diesel muffler and shit. But these things come from not being taught how to communicate, right? Not being taught how to deal with conflict, and it can be taught. We don't have to yell at each other to express how we feel. We can assert. We can be assertive. We don't necessarily have to be aggressive, right? In talking. But not everybody feels like they're gonna be heard, so we gotta use the tactic to be heard. So sometimes yelling is how you get heard. I mean, you think about in the family, like if you felt like you never could be heard, you was hollering and shit at people, you know what I mean? And sometimes that comes with the territory. But as you get older, you learn more efficient ways of doing things. You see things differently. So how I saw relationships growing up, it's totally different, because it's thinking that it's all rainbows, right? And anytime there's a sign of confrontation, then there must be something wrong. In actuality, getting to know someone better, if you will. And so even still now to this day, it still can be like a struggle. It all depends, you know what I'm saying? Like depending on how that individual comes at me, it can be very triggering, right? And I'll say I do my best. I'll do my best to try to listen. But if I feel like I'm getting fucked with, man, there's that that back into a corner type shit, and you try to defend yourself at all costs. Sometimes it doesn't come out the best, but I'm seeing relationships then. Imagining my life before, like I said, imagining my life, how it was when I was a kid, what it would be like growing up, it's totally nothing what I thought it would be. And that's what happens when we live in illusion. And learning to accept life for what it is. Because life is going to throw a curveball at you, but this question is, what are you going to do when that happens? You learn to roll with the punches. Literally, roll with the punches. And I can honestly say that I started doing my best as far as like rolling with the punches and learning to build myself up first, right? I gotta learn to get a little bit more stronger before anyone else can come into it. Because if you bring somebody into some shit, and again that weakness that you felt like you were taken advantage of. If you don't strengthen that just yet, the same shit is going to happen. So, if anything I've learned from that is learning how to strengthen, like to build up my own strength in those parts where I felt like I was weak, and being able to withstand anyone who tries to shit test me, if you will. You know what I mean? Because that happens, you learn, you live and you learn. So I would say that seeing life when I was a kid, how it is now, like I said, wanting that the whole fairy tale ending and all that bullshit that it, you know what I'm saying? It's not to say that, and let me clarify that. When I say bullshit, I'm talking about what the picture that was painting. I do believe that one can build, a healthy relationship, just not the way that it was brought to us. That, hey, I like you, like me, we're gonna grow off and we're just gonna be happy. No, nothing comes without work. Let me be very, very clear on that. You know what I'm saying? But the crazy part is realizing that you have to work on yourself, because until you heal, you will bleed on everything and everyone. I kid you not. Ain't one person alive who can deny that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just my belief on it. You ain't got to believe that. Fuck you. That's what I believe. All right. So I just believe that it just takes work. It's gonna take work. But before you work with somebody else, you gotta learn to work on yourself.